Good morning. Welcome to October. It is actually October 4th. The days have gone by very fast. Before you know it, summer is gone and fall is here. Some parts of the garden looks very tired now. The echinacea or purple coneflower, they're gone. But I just left the seed heads here because birds like to nibble on them. Hello, neighbor's dog. And the foliage for the Canadian shield rose is looking very beautiful. There's some buds still left on a plant that's gonna bloom soon. This is the Hansa Rosa rugosa, and I spot a ripening rosehip right here. The black-eyed Susan is about ready to retire, and I haven't been deadheading the grandiflora, the Lagerfield grandiflora, so that it would also try and set rose hips and probably get ready for winter. So there's a lot of wilted flowers on the bush right now, but the leaves are still looking very healthy. And a wonderful surprise down here is flowers from the columbine that I planted late summer this year. So I procrastinated for a long time. I bought these columbines in the spring but wasn't able to plant them until summer already. So they bloom during the cold weather. I wasn't expecting any blooms to come out from them, but what a pleasant surprise indeed. Yellow columbines, my favorite color. I'm not sure what the color of the flowers are on the other columbines. I did buy double petals, but I lost some of them, so I'm not sure what is left. The ajuga is doing very well, as well as the miniature roses that are planted last autumn are also doing very well. The roses are still sprouting new growth. So even though I stopped deadheading these sweet sensation rose, we can see a lot of new growth coming out. So I don't know how that would fare during the winter, but these are roses that were planted last summer and they were left here without any special winter protection, actually nothing at all. I just left them here during the winter and they came out very nicely this summer, so they did very good. Here's some new flowers from the modern blush. So there's a mix of fresh flowers along with wilted flowers and some rose hips. So we're gonna have a taste of some rose hips this summer, I think. I can turn them into teas and whatnot. That would be my first time harvesting rose hips, if ever, from my own roses. And the blueberries are turning red, fiery red, same as the autumn joy sedum. Beautiful. These Italian ice roses are doing so good. They're setting into rose hips also, but there's still beautiful blooms on them. And I am going to harvest the buds. I enjoy the flowers so much, but I also enjoy drying them, and perhaps we will enjoy how the tea tastes like with the buds from these flowers. I am not sure how that would taste, but it is quite an adventure in itself, drying and tasting the tea, so we'll see how that turns out. I think that drying the flowers and enjoying some concoction, whether it's good or not, from these buds would be equally as delightful as enjoying the blooms themselves that are growing on the bush. So I am going to try that. And look at these beautiful miniature roses. I deadheaded them a few weeks ago. Nothing left on the little bush, but now look at the flowers growing. A few days ago, I was able to plant these color cocktail roses, two of them, along with the Italian eyes, before the rain started to pour. So I was able to get those two in, and today, because it's a very sunny, pleasant day, I'm also going to plant the remainder of the miniature roses. The miniature roses has a nice bud of flower on it right now, and we could see stress from the cold that's happening, but that's okay. It should be a good time to plant the roses now that it's autumn. They will have time to set the roots before the cold comes in. And in between these roses, there's me. Hello. In between these roses, I am going to plant bulbs. Hyacinths, tulips, and crocuses. I still have to determine how I'm gonna divide up the bulbs and place them. So a lot of mental exercise before the physical exercise in my gardening journey. These poppies have done very well. They were generous with flowers this summer, so I am not sure whether I should divide them because they kind of look a little crowded in here, and there's several plants in here because they have bloomed different colors of flowers in one clump. So I know that there's several plants in there that are crowding each other. I wonder if I should divide them. I would like to take them out of this space anyway and plant a rose instead. I have two roses that are in containers right here, and as per previous experience, I haven't really succeeded in overwintering roses in containers. In the garage, they have become very dry and infected by spider mites, so they didn't really survive to see another summer. So I'm thinking maybe just plant them in the garden. So one of these roses will go on the space that's being occupied by the poppies currently. Last night there was frost warning, and there is frost warning again for tonight. The temperature will drop to 3 degrees, so it's getting cold, and the dahlias seems to be not affected. They are looking so beautiful. The colors are just like candy. So these are dahlias, as you probably heard me say a lot of times before, are planted from bulbs that I overwintered from last summer, and they have grown very well again this summer, and they are the most prolific, or they're the most abundant in my garden right now, because the bulbs were successfully kept and I had an abundant supply of bulbs. I wasn't expecting all of them to grow, seeing that I thought I didn't handle the seedlings very well, but we don't have any casualties. Everything grew and blossomed, and they're looking very, 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 very gorgeous. So I'm planning to dig this up and overwinter them again, along with some other cultivars that are in the cutting garden in the backyard, and keep them indoors and see if we could repeat the success that we had last summer, or overwintering last season winter. And when I remove these dahlias, I am going to replace them. Oh, well, actually, those two roses that are in pots right now, I was planning to transfer here, along with some lilies that are in containers. They did very well, those lilies in containers. The foliage have already dried out, so I'm going to plant them here. I initially thought I'm going to plant them in the backyard, but they don't get a lot of sun. So since I will have this space freed up soon, might as well use it for the lilies as well. And here is a big gardening chore that I would need help to do. Is my lilacs are being invaded by Carolert. It's being invaded by a sort of a tree that has red cherry fruits in them. I googled that before and I found out what the name is, but I forgot again. But yeah, okay, so the lilacs are these shorter ones, and it's being invaded by these trees that are growing much taller. So I would like to remove that to save the lilacs. Whatever this tree is sending a lot of shoots from its root system, and it's propagating in itself, so it's going to choke up the lilies pretty soon if we don't do anything about them. I dug up this portion of the garden as well, and I want to transfer some peonies in this corner so that the blooms can be enjoyed better next spring, because where they are right now, the peonies, I have 3 Sarah Bertrand peonies over on that corner by the window, and because of their situation there, it's hard to reach them, and they're kind of reaching for the sun, so it's a little messy there. So I'm gonna try and move them and hopefully give them a better space, I think. Now that I mention all the things that I'd like to do, they seem to be quite a lot of chores that needs to be done in this garden, and frankly, on some gloomy days I really don't want to work on them, and I keep thinking maybe I'll just leave them and I'll just get new ones next spring. uh, those are things that play in my head sometimes. So the roses are doing good, and the autumn sedum are very tall and crowded as well. They can be divided next spring. So yep, that is the garden in October. Not to be missed are these beautifully blooming still going pansies. I planted them initially because I wanted to try them on salads and cookies. And beautiful magnolia. I am quite excited about this magnolia that my husband and I planted last spring. They were tinier then and they have grown a little bit bigger now. So I'm looking forward to some flowers next spring from these ones. We planted 2 of them. The other one's right there, also underplanted with some pansies. My husband even bought some lights for me. Isn't that gorgeous? And my father provided those rocks so I can etch them beautifully. This garden is full of love, lots of memoirs from the people who love me. So whenever I'm here in the garden, I always think about those people and I feel very thankful. Thank you very much for spending some time with me, checking out what the garden looks like in October. I will go down in the backyard as well and show you some of the things that are happening down there. And this is where we end the front yard garden for now.